Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good night, wherever it is, whenever it is you watch this video. Time for another update to the Mercury Dimes album. If you haven't been following along in the series, this is the third installment. I'll link to the first two in the description down below. But just going through this awesome Dansco album and moving my collection from the 2x2s, the flips that I had them in, and the binder I had it in into this cool Mercury Dime book, because I think the Dansco Mercury Dime album is just the coolest place for a Mercury Dime. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We are on the second page, and the second page is the last page in the Mercury Dime album. There's actually only 2 pages. We're going to start out with a really, really nice looking 1934 out of Philadelphia. And we're going to go to that 34 out of Denver. Remember, right? Get that focus. That one's a pretty rough shape, but happy to have it in the collection as well. Go to that 35 out of Philadelphia. Definitely a nicer looking 1935 out of Denver. You can see that D mint mark down there on the bottom. $35 out of San Francisco there. Nice. Make sure I put that one right up, right side up. You don't want to have my Mercury Dimes in upside down. That would make me sad. Got a 1936 out of Philly. This one's got some dirt on him, but that's okay. One of the fun things about a collection like this is you can start it at that 36, and then as you find better examples, you can swap them out. And then you just have more silver coins left over as you trade them out. 36 out of San Francisco. These Dansco albums are really so nice. Here's a 1937 out of Philly. I really wish that they would, excuse me, really wish they would figure out 1937 out of Denver, whether they're actually going to come back into production or not. There's all sorts of rumors out there that they are, that they aren't, that the kids went away and aren't going to keep doing things. Here's a very dirty 1937 San Francisco. So who knows what's going to happen. It's definitely made a lot of these have premiums that you wouldn't normally see for coin albums. Here's a 1938 out of Philly. There is no mint mark there. I have looked at that one under my microscope. So there we go. 2 more rows done in the Merc Dime album. I'm going to go ahead and cover that one up. There we go. And on to these last 2 lines. Here we have a 1938 out of Denver. These 30s and 40s are much easier to come across. Here's a 38 out of San Francisco. They're not super rare by any stretch of the imagination, because really, by the time we got into the 30s and 40s, we were minting tens of millions of our coins. 1939 out of Philly. So it's one of those things where they're still collectible, obviously, because there's fewer of them. They're super old. I mean, the majority of this, here's a really nice looking 39 Denver. You know, so many of these coins, some of them are over 100 years old. Obviously, these are not 100 years old yet, but they're getting close to 100 years old. So those coins are still collectible because they're small, they're silver, they look different, but just there's a lot of them. So it's not too hard to get a Merc Dime collection, if you're not looking for super crazy grades, 1940 out of Philly here, you can get going pretty easily. Like here's a really nice looking 1940. Should be a Denver mint mark. Yep, there it is, 1940 out of Denver. Still some nice looking bands on and details on the reverse of that coin. Go back to putting on my hand here. Here's a 1940S. $1941 Philly. And 3 more before we call this video done. Oof. I need to replace that one. That one's got a big old nick in the rim. That's no fun. 1941 out of Denver. There's 45 billion of those minted. It should not be hard for me to replace that one pretty darn easily. 1941 San Francisco. And last but not least for today, the 1942. Definitely a nice looking coin out of Philadelphia. So we'll go ahead and put the cover on that one. So there we go. We cranked through 4 rows of Mercury dimes to add to the book. There are no spaces left, but like that 1941 is one that can be upgraded. I'm gonna adjust this. This is one of the things that I don't like about the Mercury Dime is that sometimes they can slide around. Not the Mercury Dime, the Dansco albums. Is sometimes they can slide around like this and get kind of caught in the binding. It happens a lot with my half dimes in my collection. And that kind of bums me out that that's the case. Yeah, see, check that out. So I'm going to reseat those not so far down in. And so looking at these coins from 1934 to 1942, really the lowest minted coin in that whole list is that 38 out of Denver. This coin here is 5.5 million minted. So we're talking much higher mintages. And then once we get up here into the 42 to the 45, these again, tens of millions of these minted. So in our last video, we'll go ahead and finish up this last page. If you haven't watched the first 2 videos, here are the holes we have in the book: the 1916 Denver, the 1919 Denver, the 21 and the 21 Denver, the 23 out of San Francisco, 25 out of San Francisco, and 27 out of Denver. So by the time we're all done with this, I actually only have 6 holes in my Mercury Dime collection. One really expensive hole. We'll see if I ever get that one. Thanks for watching. I appreciate all of your support. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the Mercury Dime album. One more to go in this series. And as always, have a great day.